I'm Mary Beth Sewald, President and CEO of the Vegas Chamber. And as you know, the Vegas Chamber is doing our virtual Washington, D.C. fly-in this week. And we're so excited because we get to share all of this great information about things that are happening in Washington, D.C. And we get to have amazing guests like Senator Catherine Cortez-Masto. Senator Cortez-Masto, thank you so much for being with us today.
Mary Beth, thank you. It's always a pleasure to join the Vegas Chamber. Thank you for all your good work.
Well, likewise, I know that you've been hard at work on behalf of the businesses and in the entire state of Nevada. You've been involved in passing some federal legislation to help provide businesses survive and actually thrive during these challenging economic times. What are you hoping to see in a fourth relief package to provide maybe even a little bit more help for Nevada businesses?
Yeah, I know, and you know this as I talk to our businesses, there's still a need for relief right now. Our economy, particularly because of the hospitality base of our economy, is still struggling. From our small businesses to connected to hospitality, tourism, live events, to our restaurants. I mean, you name it. And so there's still a need for more funding for PPP, more, we call it EIDL, or the disaster relief funds. And more support, direct support for our tourism and hospitality industry. So I know we were just talking about this. I know you had one of my colleagues, Amy Klobuchar, on earlier, and she and I, along with Senators Blunt and Kramer, introduced this bipartisan bill called the STEP Act to really support our tourism and hospitality industry that I think was really, I don't want to say left behind, but because we are so hard hit, we really need more direct assistance and support. And so that's why I am hopeful, because we've already got the bipartisan support for it, that it will get into the next stimulus package for our businesses. And we still need money for state and local government. We still need money for workers in general, direct relief to individuals. I mean, you know, Mary Beth, it is a pandemic, a healthcare crisis that we are dealing with. We still have to focus on that to get a handle on that, to stem the spread of it. We also know that until we do, our economy is going to be impacted. And so we have to make sure that we're doing this comprehensive relief for everybody in need right now.
Yeah, you know, we couldn't agree with you more. Another priority of the Vegas Chamber has been limited liability legislation to protect employers. And as you know, the Vegas Chamber was instrumental in helping to pass some statewide legislation. And as you also know, we're looking to protect those employers who are complying with the guidelines, CDC, OSHA, and the state guidelines. We're not looking necessarily to protect the bad actors who don't, and those do exist. But can you tell us, what are your views on limited liability, and do you think anything will get passed in Washington?
Well, first of all, let me just say thank you for your work in the state, because what you have done in the state has informed my position here at the federal level. I think there needs to be that kind of stakeholder, the businesses, workers, everybody coming together to find what makes sense, where we can make sure that those good businesses that are trying to comply, that they have the protections they need, that workers have the protections they need, and that the bad actors, they don't get kind of relief because of all the good work that so many others are looking to do here. And so I think there is a balance. Nevada shows it can be done. So what you have done with that state legislation and coming together and everybody working together, that's really what I'm looking for at the federal level. Right now, we don't have that, unfortunately. I think there is an opportunity to come together. I have been listening to our businesses. It makes sense to me that there needs to be some protections. And so I'm hopeful that at a federal level, as we look to negotiate the next package, we get to negotiate that piece of it. Right now, it hasn't been negotiated. Right now, one side has decided what they think that limited liability piece should look like, and then really kind of just dropped it on the floor of the Senate and said, okay, now you got to vote on it. We've never seen it before. Well, what it does is really, at the end of the day, if it were to pass, it actually would preempt state law. So all the good work that you have done in our state to address this issue would be preempted by this federal legislation, and it would take it and put it into federal court. And then on top of that, all of the protections that they had put in place and the standards that they put in place would essentially make it complete immunity for businesses. And I don't think that's what anybody's really looking for here. Everybody's looking for, as we deal with this pandemic, how do we make sure we have those protections in place and we find that balance so that we can get through this pandemic and open our doors again safely, and have our economy bounce back, but keeping not just our workers, but our customers safe, right? In Nevada, we want our customers to come back again. We want to show them that we're safe, we're doing the right thing. So I think there's still negotiation that needs to occur. I would like to see it, bipartisan negotiation in this space. And I am hopeful that we'll still get the opportunity to do just that. I'm hopeful we'll still pass a stimulus package before the end of the year.
Well, I hope so too. And thank you again for all your work on that. We really appreciate it because, as you've stated, it is so needed. So also, Yucca Mountain, and thanks to your leadership, Yucca Mountain has pretty much been derailed due to a lack of funding. Is Yucca truly dead, or do you think it will come back anytime soon?
No, I think here's what's happening. Yes, I think Yucca is, for purposes of what they want to do with Yucca Mountain and put that high level waste there, we are going to continue to fight that, right? And literally the Nevada delegation has been united. So we've been able to not only fight against that and ensure it doesn't happen at Yucca Mountain where that storage occurs, that deep geologic storage. We're actually have introduced legislation, Jackie Rosen and I have introduced legislation to actually make sure that when we're looking at what to do with this storage, which we have to do because this disposal, needs to be stored somewhere. We've got to figure out what we're going to do, whether it's interim storage, deep geologic, whatever it is, that Nevada is treated equally like everyone else. And so we've introduced legislation for just that, so that Nevada is no longer subject to the previous legislation with respect to Yucca Mountain, that we start anew, that we get treated like every other state. We could decide whether we want deep geologic storage or interim storage, but at the end of the day, it shouldn't be forced upon us. Now, the state has been very clear. Yucca Mountain itself is not a site that really is appropriate for deep geologic storage. Scientifically, it's just not there. Environmental, it's just not there. We've seen it more earthquakes, it leaks like a sieve. There's just no ability to do that. I do think as a country, though, we have to figure out what to do with this storage. There's new technology, there's new ability and research that can go into this to really think long-term and how we address this high-level nuclear waste. It needs to be done. I think that is what you're going to see moving forward, the focus on that, and all of us trying to come together, stop playing the politics, all of us listening to the scientists, and really coming together to address this need in the future.
Well, thank you again for your leadership on that. And we know that you've played such a huge role in making sure that at least that we're looking at other alternatives as opposed to Yucca Mountain. So we appreciate that. Can you tell us a little bit about what some of your other priorities are for the state for the next year?
Sure. Right now, obviously, the package, the stimulus package, right now, just as I've said, we've got to address the healthcare piece of it. That is driving our economic piece and the consequences we see with the economic impact. That's a priority. We have seen what happened to Nevada when the downturn in the economy, the most recent recession, when we came out, I think it was in 2010 to 2014, the subprime mortgage issues and how we were so hard hit and it took us a while to spring back. My goal is to make sure that we are investing a stimulus money for our businesses, for individuals, so that we can spring back that much quicker. So that's a priority. On top of that, I will tell you, affordable housing is still an issue in our state. It has even been highlighted even more so during this pandemic. We have to address the affordable housing piece. I think we need an infrastructure package where we can literally make an infrastructure investment in not just our horizontal and our vertical construction, but in broadband. Oh my gosh, we need more money for broadband, which will bring us e-learning and telehealth and telemedicine into our rural communities and our underserved communities. We have to address, I believe, and this is crucial for me long-term as well, is the mental health and behavioral health issues in our state, in this country. So there are a number of things that I'm looking at right now. Long-term, short-term is driven by the economy right now and the pandemic, like rental assistance and housing assistance that's needed. insurance assistance that's needed for those that don't have insurance right now. So there's a combination of things that I'm looking at. I will say this though, and you know this because I started in the Senate about 3 years ago with this. We are an innovation state. I am so proud of what we have done around this space when it comes to innovation, taking the new technology, making sure that our private sector, our government, and our schools, our education system, we're all working together to not only embrace that new technology, create the jobs, those innovation jobs of the future, and then really train our workforce, right? Train our workforce and transition our workers into those new jobs. I have to thank the Chamber. You guys have done an incredible job being a partner in that space. That to me is our future in Nevada, and I'm excited about it. That's really my focus is going to be while I'm in the Senate.
Well, that's excellent. You know, you bring up such a relevant point because the Vegas Chamber has been really focusing on retraining, reskilling, because as you know, our unemployment rate is so high here now. And folks, you know, a lot of these jobs are not going to be there to go back to. So a lot of these folks are going to have to change careers completely. So that's become a new priority of ours. And you'll be thrilled to learn that the Vegas Chamber is the first of its kind in the country to partner with Workforce Connections. And tomorrow we're going to do our grand opening of the new Employ NV Business Hub here at the Vegas Chamber. So we're really excited about that. And Governor Sisolak is going to be joining us. So it's going to be a great new resource for employers and employees alike.
And congratulations. Thank you so much. I just am excited about our future and where we have the opportunity to take it. And Vegas Chamber's at the forefront of it. Thank you so much for being such a great partner.
Well, likewise, thank you so much, Senator Cortez-Masto, for sharing your time and your insights with us. And as always, thank you so much for your leadership, not only here in Nevada, but on our behalf in Washington, D.C.
Thank you again. You take care.
All right, you too. And for the latest details about the Vegas Chamber's Washington, D.C. fly-in, the virtual version, you can follow us at vegaschamber.com, on social media at LV Chamber, #DC in LV. Thanks again. I'm Mary Beth Sewald.